Who is the worst guy you know? Is it him? Or maybe him? Or him? Yeah, well, it's probably, I mean, he's a Nazi. It's probably him. Would you even try to make a story about this guy outside of he's evil and let's watch him do evil things? Most wouldn't. Enter Jonathan Glazer, the fucking madman who did exactly what you shouldn't. But what does this all mean? Why is it so slow? Why do we never see any violence from this horrific time? And what the f is going on with that insane ending? I'll be answering all these questions while I reorganize my house, making it the best it's ever been. Plus, I have a point at the end that's kind of insane for all of you who stick around. So let's start off with the least crazy part of this video. Holocaust movies.
Could have got one more person. And I didn't.
There are many movies about the Holocaust just like this one. Some are more indulgent than others, but The Zone of Interest does something not even Steven Spielberg dared to do. It doesn't show the Holocaust. The entire movie is about the family of an SS officer working just past the walls of their home at Auschwitz. But we never look over the wall into the most infamous camp of all time. In an incredibly bold move, Jonathan Glazer also has fewer cuts in the entire movie than Oppenheimer does in its first 5 minutes.
We thought we might start a chain reaction that would destroy the entire world.
The pace is amazingly slow here, building up this family at its heart so slow, it can legitimately feel like nothing is happening. The camera barely moves and mostly takes place in real time. We see them playing at the beach, fishing at a river, and playing with friends in their yard, all while gunshots ring out just over the fence. Leading us to our first point. What does this all mean? But I think a better question is, have you ever seen a documentary? How was that movie presented, and what feeling did that give you? I want you to take a second to think about that.
The script was written based on testimony, fragments of testimony of survivors from the camps and people who worked in the house.
Now, with that in mind, apply that to a Nazi movie about the Holocaust that doesn't show the Holocaust, and that's exactly what Jonathan Glazer is going for here. In order to thoroughly get the audience attached to the story, we needed to be a fly on the wall, which is a difficult feat to pull off. To do this, the film has to be shot and edited like a documentary. The camera acts as a window into these people's lives, immersing us into how things for them really are.
A multi-camera system, sometimes 10 cameras at the same time, built in the set with different angles, and it allows us to have a luxury situation to create or to find or to search for this normality.
But you need your actors and direction to be special as well. People have to act naturally, and extras in the scene have to look as if they're comfortable in their environment. The characters have been doing this for years, and we have to believe that they have. And it works. It's super impressive. Of course, this means that the film can be very difficult to swallow. It's incredibly challenging and slow, but absolutely rewards your efforts for sticking with it. Crazy, I know, but my last point is even wilder. Leading us to point number 2, which is also pretty insane. Where is all the violence? If you watch pretty much any Holocaust movie, they generally don't hold back from showing the audience all the horrific things that happen, doing a great job of getting the audience emotionally involved relatively easily. Yet here, everything is pretty dry. We hear gunshots in the background, listen as Nazis matter-of-factly talk about incineration chambers, see the smoke rising from the depths of Auschwitz, and occasionally hear the blood-curdling screams in the distance. It's horrifying on its own, but like the family, we begin to grow numb to it. It's always there, looming in the background, but it never encroaches on the idyllic zone of interest that this family has for their house. That is, until the family breaks apart when the father is relocated. Once this happens, we're treated to shots of beautiful flowers with a droning, eerie score and terrifying screams before we fade to red, signifying the halfway point. After this, the violence seems to draw closer and closer to home, still hidden just out of sight, but more present than ever. It's far more effective and unsettling than outright showing it. Not only is the audience able to imagine what's happening, allowing us to scare ourselves, but we aren't supposed to hate these characters either. We're supposed to know them, and if we see the father actively committing atrocities, the film would have completely failed at what it's trying to hit on at the end. Which is our final point. the ending, which is a flashbang in a kiddie pool level of shock. In the last 10 minutes, my mouth literally fell open and didn't close until the credits rolled. It was like the Sahara Desert in my mouth. I kid you not, this movie literally cuts from our period piece Nazi Germany into the real-life actual Holocaust museum. What the f- It's possibly the most insane single cut in a film I have seen since 2001: A Space Odyssey, and will likely never forget it. Here, the film for the first time invites you to think about it. For so long, I watched and waited to see what my hard work was going to pay off with. But when this happened, it jolted me so hard I was unable to think of anything else for the next 6 hours. To me, it seems like Jonathan Glazer is trying to give us all a wake-up call, rightfully pointing out how easy it can be to make even the worst things ever normal.
I myself had the feeling that here was a man who did not think about himself and his own advantage, but solely about the good of the German people.
For the entire film, the family is just fine with Auschwitz being literally on their doorstep. It's often difficult to see outside of our own self-interests until someone or something shakes it off, finally grabbing the family by the ears and showing them what horrors are all around them. Their guest abandons them, their son hears a man murdered for wanting an apple, and their father seems to see the future as his body begins to revolt against him. All this to point out that this could be any one of us. As hard as it is to hear, humans are very good at not just adapting, but normalizing things that should not be normal.
I think our central principle was to show our similarities to the perpetrators rather than our similarities to the victims, and the discomfort of that, and the warning of that.
So that's the zone of interest, but I did promise one more point, and that point is family. If there's one thing that flies under the radar here, it's the importance of the people around you. By simply losing one person, your idyllic life could come crumbling down around you. It tells us to hold on to the people close to us, but not so close that we can't see past our own self-interest. If we aren't aware of what's around us, then we could allow horrible things to happen without uttering a word of complaint.